Good morning, everyone. This is Pastor David with your Thursday devotional. We're continuing in our series in Water for the Way that we're doing as a church for the season of Lent leading up to Easter. And we hope that you'll join us for that in these Thursday devotionals. We hope that you'll join us on Sunday, either in person or online, to hear the messages that go along with this. And if you've got a book, that's fantastic as well. If you need one, holler at me and we can look at trying to get you one. This morning, our passage is from Psalm 95, and it says, "O come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise to him with songs of praise. For the Lord is a great God and a great King above all gods. Do not harden your hearts as at Meribah, as on the day at Massa in the wilderness, when your ancestors tested me and put me to the proof, though they had seen my work. For 40 years I loathed that generation and said, there are people whose hearts go astray, and they do not regard my ways." This is kind of an interesting statement. God says, I loathed that generation. And often we have kind of a misunderstanding of God, particularly when it comes to the Old Testament. And we think, well, God is loving, but then it says that God loathed this generation. And what's the disconnect, or what is causing this to happen? And I think the reality is God is a God who desires relationship with us. He wants to be a part of our lives. He desires relationship with his creation, with all of his creation. It's not limited to a specific group or nation or ethnicity or race or language. God wants to have relationship with all people. But what have we seen, even just over the passages that we've talked about the last few weeks? Relationships, as we know, even in our human relationships have to be built on a foundation of trust of one another. It has to be built on a foundation of trust. If we have doubt, if we have distrust of one another, then we can't have a real working relationship. We can't have a good relationship with one another. And the same is true of God. Why did God loathe this generation? It's because even though they had seen the incredible things that God had done, as God led them, as God did miracles, as God provided for them, like God had done all these incredible things. They had seen these miraculous things done, and they knew they were done by God. And yet at every turn, they kept questioning God. They kept distrusting God. And God has seen this play out before. Think about when we talked about Adam and Eve. What was the issue that led to the fall? The serpent comes and he says, God is withholding this from you because he knows that if you actually eat this fruit, that you'll become like him, and God doesn't want that. And he tricks them, but that temptation comes out of a distrust for God. If they had trusted God, if they had thought that God had their best interest at heart, they wouldn't have been tempted by that. And so God has seen this play out before to disastrous results for humanity, and he loves us and cares for us, and so he doesn't want to see us fall into these same traps and patterns of doubt and distrust that lead us ultimately away from a relationship with him. And so he says, this generation that just continues to doubt and distrust, that continues to walk away from me, that continues to do their own thing, even though they've seen the incredible things that I've done, I've loathed this generation. Do not be like them. God wants to have relationship with all people. In fact, why do we see Abraham as this great leader of faith, as the great father of our faith? It says that Abraham believed God and it was credited to him as righteousness. He trusted God. That's what it boils down to. He was able to establish a covenant, a relationship with God, because he trusted in him. And God wants him to be the Father of all nations, to lead all people into a relationship with him, to lead all people into the covenant. And that's the truth for us today as well. God wants to have a relationship with you and with me, and he wants us to be ambassadors of that relationship, to invite other people into that relationship of every ethnicity and language and country and people. Because he wants to have a relationship with all of us, but it all starts with trust, with belief that God has our best interests at heart, with trust in the way that he operates in our lives, with love for him. Because we can't have love without trust, without faith in him. And so I just encourage you over these next couple weeks, maybe take an inward look during this season of Lent, this season of reflection, and say, is there any area of my life where I'm not really fully trusting God? Is there any part of me that is living in doubt, that's not quite fully leaning in to my relationship with God? Is there anything that I'm holding back? Or is there anything I'm holding on to that's holding me back from my relationship with God? Trust, love the Lord, and you'll see incredible things happen in your spiritual life. We would love to see you join us on Sunday. We want to have you here. We are going through this incredible series, and we're going to continue going through it. It all connects together. So we would love to have you here each and every Sunday from now until Easter, especially as we go through this series. If you have missed a week, you can catch up online and then come and join us. We'd love to have you. If you can't be here in person, watch us online. But we are so glad that you joined us today. We're so glad that you will join us. Well, that was really weird. Sorry about that. But we love you. Go in his grace and his peace this week.